comes alive.
We have the tools, we have the talent.
Let's roll.
Silent breathing people!
Manimal. All hail King Manimal.
I am always jazzed by our theme song.
Our whole theme video thing is like I don't know what y'all are doing. I'm just going to sit and just watch it.
It's great. It's all downhill from here.
Yes,
Kevin Cafferty said usually he, the creator of that video said, usually he's very productive and gets a lot of stuff done, but he spent an entire afternoon just digging up clips for that thing, and I said, well, you should feel pretty good about it.
That's great.
Yes.
And if you don't, that's on you, man.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Welcome.
Hello.
So, yeah, that's exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gary Mitchell. I am the co-director with that guy over there.
It's me.
Yes, Joe Crowe of the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. And that I'll let Joe introduce himself, even though I've already.
Hey, I'm Joe Crowe. I'm the other one. When people ask about the Classics Track, I'm the other one, and you have honestly, if you're watching this on Thursday night or whenever you're watching it, you've made the best possible choice you could have, because American Sci-Fi Classics is the best. We're the hottest underground club at DragonCon.
We are. As a matter of fact, that should be one of our upcoming panels, is the prep for that. We're on what, year 4 of the 120-minute dance party this year?
Yes, indeed. Indeed. And if tradition holds and we go, and this happens again this year, it'll be the 4th year in a row when people think that I'm one of the DJs. I'm totally not. I don't know nothing. It's Kevin Cafferty and Chris Cummins do a tremendous job, and I just like to sit up there and then perhaps enjoy a lovely beverage.
Yep.
And people come up to me and they give me song requests, and I go, cool, I'll put it on the list. I don't ever put it on the list.
That is my move,
I don't
too.
know where the list is.
I go up on that stage and act like I have any right to be up there during the
Sweet
120 minutes party. Yeah.
But you know what? Really, isn't that the American Sci-Fi Classics Track? We go up there, act like we have any right to be up there.
Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's pretty much me all DragonCon weekend, getting up on a stage and acting like I'm supposed to be there.
Exactly.
And we are joined, though,
as long
today.
as people. Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Forget about it. You're right there in between us the whole time.
Surrounded by Classics Track directors.
There's no escape.
Terrifying place to be. But yeah, I'm very excited to be back here with you guys again tonight for some Krofft talk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Yeah, so let's... and tell them who you are, Kevin. And where they
I'm Kevin. Yeah, I'm Kevin. I'm one of the regular weirdos that lurks around the DragonCon American Sci-Fi Classics Track, and in between DragonCons, I do a podcast called The Flopcast, which is essentially the Sci-Fi Classics Track in convenient podcast audio form.
Indeed.
It really is.
Yes, we've both been on there, and it's a wonderful little show people should be listening to.
We've spent a lot of time on The Flopcast discussing the world of Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yes.
Indeed. Which is our topic tonight, if we hadn't said that already. We're here because, unfortunately, we did sadly lose Sid. We lost Marty, I think, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
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 Our friends at the Puppetry Track at DragonCon got Marty to come to DragonCon a couple of years ago, and sadly, I think Marty was not feeling great.
Yeah.
But a lot of people had some excellent interactions with him, and just the stories that he was a part of. And my favorite thing was he brought an official HR, or let's just say HR Pufnstuf officially came with him.
Nice.
Yeah, the actual
And that may
Pufnstuf was
be
hanging around
my
Dragon Con all
favorite.
weekend.
That may be my favorite celebrity Dragon Con photo that I've ever done.
Nice.
It's me and HR.
Just,
One of us can't do enough.
So you're on first initial basis with him.
Yes.
Yeah, me and HR just hanging out.
Me and HR. One of us can't do enough. The other one.
Yeah.
It was wonderful having Marty at Dragon Con, and he was not around for long after Dragon Con. It was a few months after Dragon Con that we lost Marty, and he was 86 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And yeah, he was not in top shape at Dragon Con, and he was a little cranky at times because I went to a few of his presentations. I heard some comments like he didn't understand Dragon Con scheduling. Like, why do I have to do something here at the Marriott, then go over to the Hyatt, and then go over to the Hilton? He was like, why am I being moved all around downtown Atlanta?
Honestly, good questions.
Yeah. He was like, can't I be in one place and bring people and events to me? But he was also very concerned with taking care of everybody that wanted to see him, everybody that wanted to meet him. I heard him like standing up to his handlers and his schedulers saying like, no, make it happen. We're going to be in this room and we're going to get all these people to come through. I got to meet him briefly, which was such a treat. And yeah, having Pufnstuf there with him. And that was, I believe, Marty's first time back in Atlanta since the 70s when they had the Krofft theme park just a few blocks away.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get...
Okay, no, you go. You got me first, so you go.
All right, I think we were about to say the same thing, Joe, because we actually share, half a brain together.
Yeah.
But we were both saying before we get too deep, Kevin, Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, like these young folks born in the 90s that are here.
You kids today who missed the Krofts. Well, Sid and Marty Krofft were brothers, and they were puppeteers and television creators and producers. And they go back to the 1940s, I guess, or so, when young, like teenage Sid Krofft started touring the world with a puppet show, and they continued building bigger and better puppet theaters and puppet shows, which were part of World's Fairs over the years, and touring with Judy Garland and the biggest stars of the day. They would go on tour performing with their puppets. In the late 60s, they got into television. They designed the character costumes for the Banana Splits for Hanna-Barbera. That was 1968. And then the following year, they went into business for themselves with Sid and Marty Krofft as a company producing their own shows, starting with HR Pufnstuf and right on down the line from there. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about all of it. But yeah, Lidsville, Bugaloos, and then eventually Land of the Lost, Krofft Super Show, and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, Far Out Space Notes, on and on it goes. They made just a series of wonderful live action, largely puppet-based and live people-based kind of freaky fantasy, science fiction, wonderful shows throughout the 70s and into the 80s. Just brilliant, fantastic creators of children's entertainment of our youth.
Yeah, which is why my lighting is doing what it's doing, because this is definitely the era of psychedelia. Although they swear the shows were not made on drugs, but I swear.
I mean, I don't know anything about how drugs work, but I got on a soapbox once live at Dragon Con, and I'm gonna do it again briefly, maybe. We'll see. But we have been very lucky. The Wesley Ewer and Kathy Coleman, who played Will and Holly, have been with us on the Classics Track several times.
Yep.
And they are just the nicest folks. So cool. We had a one of our banners that we hang in the Classics Track was done by Dusty A. Bell of 70s TV Heroes. And
Yes.
we got Will and Holly to sign their portion of that banner. And they are just the nicest folks. And I was emceeing or moderating a panel with one of them, with both of them. And I don't know, but I think I made Will tear up
Aw.
when I got on my soapbox. And here it is. I'm not expecting either of you to cry. We are all robots.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so because we are robots, we don't have emotions, and
No,
we're really sad about it.
I'm officially on record as being dead inside. That's
Thank
not a
you.
secret. Not a secret.
Yes.
I like the fact, Joe, you said that we have no emotions and we're sad about it.
Yes. Very awfully sad. But so here's what I said. The running joke about Sid Marty Krofft and about all their shows is, man, that must have been some good drugs. Those must have been some great drugs back then. It was the 70s, man. And while, yeah, it was the 70s. And yes, lots of people did drugs, but maybe it's because Sid and Marty Krofft were freaking geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, and like you said, Joe, it was the late 60s, early 70s. The drug culture was the youth culture. I mean, psychedelia was the thing. So they were just tapping into what the kids were into. The kids.
That's the thing. They might have, and I don't know them personally. I'm saying people minimize the abilities of Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yes.
By just saying clearly they were blitzed out of their minds.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's kind
come
of
on, guys.
the knee-jerk reaction that you get of people. Oh, what about that? They must have been on so many drugs. And yeah, all right, come on. That's kind of the sign of someone who really hasn't looked at this stuff too deeply. You know, like all right, it was the time. Fine, that was the style of the time. Everything had that psychedelic look to it, and it was really only their first 3 shows that even applies to. The psychedelic look was really only in Pufnstuf, in Bugaloos, and in Lidsville. After that, they moved right on.
Well, and I think the banana splits a little too.
Oh sure, yeah. Which that wasn't even their show though. They designed
it wasn't.
they designed the costumes for the 4 banana splits.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I defy you to watch anything from 1968 to 1974 that doesn't look like somebody dropped acid.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rockford Files, for crying out loud.
Yeah. It's not. I just. But when I said that, Will was sitting. Wesley Ure, I'm going to call him Will because I've called him Will for 50 years, was sitting right next to me, and I swear he teared up, and that was not my intent. But I hope, I love this stuff. I love the Sid Marty Krofft stuff so much. And I soapboxed a little bit about how, another sidebar, and then I'll stop, I promise. When I briefly did stand-up comedy in my youth, almost every comedian had to drink hard before they went on stage, and I don't mind a lovely taste of the devil's alcohol every now and then, but I don't need it to be creative. And my awful sense of humor doesn't require me to be drunk or to drop acid.
Yes, people. He's like this sober.
Yes, thank you, Gary. You both can confirm that.
Yep.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a drink or anything like that. I'm not a teetotaler my own self. It's just, you can be, I mean, I guess sometimes drugs help, but I mean, Tylenol's not bad either, depending on, you know, I think it's a net negative to
Yes.
always blame a substance or to always credit a substance when
Indeed.
maybe you're just a genius too. Okay, I'm climbing off the soapbox right now, and we can continue to go about our business.
Right.
Okay.
So, of them all, Kevin,
Yeah.
a lot of them do center on the, stranger in a strange land, portal fantasy, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
someone from the normal world ends up someplace like Lidsville or with the Bugaloos or in Land of the Lost. I mean, it's not all of them, but a good chunk of them are.
Yep.
So, of those, which is your favorite?
Of those, I mean, you got to go Land of the Lost, which I mean, we could do. It's hard to
We
not
will
make the
and
whole
should.
panel. Yeah, the whole
Yes.
panel could be about Land of the Lost because it's such a rich subject compared to all their other shows. This was the most complex, well defined universe. It ran 3 seasons, which is longer than any of their other shows. Plus, there was a reboot of it in the early '90s. Then there
Yes.
was a movie after that, so that it's had a life way beyond
Yeah.
any of the other Croft shows. And yeah, Land of the
Yeah, we
Lost
could
was just so
definitely
smart.
do just an hour on Land
Oh
of the
yeah,
Lost if we
yeah,
wanted.
yeah, and absolutely. When we had Wesley and Kathy at Dragon Con, they were just so wonderful. You guys put me in charge of them for the whole weekend a few years ago. I spent the whole weekend moderating Wesley and Kathy, and it was just a
It wasn't
joy.
wasn't Chaka with them too?
Not that time, but that was a few years back. Yeah, we had Philip
Okay.
Paley here as well, who played Chaka, and
Yes.
he's a cool guy as well. So yeah, that was great. So yeah, I would of the person trapped in a weird land trying to get home, of which they did a few. Yeah, that's easily my favorite.
is
Would be Land of the
100%
Lost. Yeah,
Yes.
But
Um,
there was so much of that in the 70s, and maybe it was just because that was when we first started watching TV and movies.
mhm.
But that kind of, I think, affected all of us. There was so much of children being lost somewhere or trapped
sure,
in every TV
Well-
show, in
Yeah.
so many TV shows and movies.
sure.
Well,
And
you
then
have to get the parents out of the way because
Out of the
they're
way.
not going to let the
Yeah.
kids run around
Yeah.
in this dangerous thing with witches chasing them and giant talking hats. They're going to definitely put the kibosh on this kind of tomfoolery.
less
Honestly,
parents, more
if I'm in
puppets.
Lidsville and my mom could have helped immediately.
But right from the beginning, the first show they produced was H.R. Pufnstuf, and which was very, very clearly influenced by Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
so you get the child in this strange new fantasy land with the evil witch and all that. That came right out of Oz, of course, and that kind of set the template for many of their shows to follow.
Yeah, it was the talking flute, and you had, I mean, people I don't think realize that this kind of what do they call it, suit acting, whatever, like HR and all those main characters. I mean, that was just what you did. I mean, even the McDonald's characters for the longest time were that, Grimace and the Mayor
Yeah.
McCheese and all that.
Oh, sure.
That's what.
That's
So it was just
That's a-
normal.
yeah, that's a whole other subject. Was that there was a lawsuit because McDonald's ripped off the Crofts with their
Oh, yes.
McDonald
Oh,
Land
no.
McDonald Land was directly stolen from Sid and Marty Krofft. Oh yeah, and there was a
Okay,
lawsuit
well, yeah,
lawsuit dragged
wow.
on for years, and the Crofts were ultimately winners of the lawsuit with McDonald's over that.
Oh, good.
Freaking Mayor McCheese.
But
You line up Mayor McCheese and Pufnstuf, line them up right next to each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's not subtle.
But I remember being like 5 years old, and that was like one of the first TV shows I fell in love with was H.R. Pufnstuf, and
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
him in his all that run around and being afraid of Witchy Poo, and then
Sure.
growing older and realizing that, oh wait, Witchy Poo's not a guy. Wait, what?
Yeah. What's happening with Witchy Poo?
Yeah. And the movie as well. They did the Pufnstuf theatrical movie at the time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that would be around as well. Even when the show was not in reruns, the movie would show up, on a Saturday afternoon on some UHF channel or whatever. So that really kept it present in our lives through the
And
70s.
there's something about HR Pufnstuf, because of course there was a haunted hotel, maybe it was on one of the Krofft
Yep.
shows
Yeah.
afterward.
Yes,
Yeah.
Horror Hotel, which
Thank you.
also starred Witchy Poo and many of the other monsters that she would hang around with. They were all running a hotel.
And that to me united. It was like Crisis on Infinite Sid Marty Krofft shows, because they all coexisted. It all
Yeah.
made sense to me.
Yeah,
Once that show-
it is all Avengers MCU knit together. I was talking with Kevin before we started. I was checking out, because a lot of this is on YouTube now. So if you've never watched, go hunt Sid and Marty Krofft on YouTube. But there's an episode of Lidsville where Charles Nelson Riley's character, Marlowe the Magnificent, joins a Lonely Hearts Club, and Witchy Poo is the one that responds. And so she guest stars.
Yep. So that's the great Billy Hayes playing two roles, because she was Witchy Poo, and then she also was Weenie the Genie on Lidsville. But yeah, that was the first example of a crossover between the shows. But yeah, then Joe, you're absolutely right. When they got to, they did the Krofft Super Show first, and then that kind of segued into the Krofft Superstar Hour. That's when they brought in the Bay City Rollers to host the show. Krofft Super Show first season was hosted by a band that they created called Captain Cool and the Kongs. It was this kind of fun glam rock band. I loved them. Then the second season, they got rid of the Kongs. They brought in an actual band, the Bay City Rollers, and that's when they did Horror Hotel with Witchy Poo, and Hoodoo was lurking around as well from Lidsville. And the crazy part on that show was they also did a segment called Lost Island.
Yes,
I believe,
with Jan Michael Vincent.
That
Very young
no, you're thinking of Danger. You're thinking
Danger
of
Island.
You're thinking of Danger Island from Banana Splits.
Yes.
Come on, Gary.
This was on the Krofft. It's all so confusing. The Krofft Superstar Hour had this segment that was like an ultimate mashup of Krofft shows. Called Lost Island, and this had Pufnstuf. It had Sigmund. It had Enoch, the intelligent Sleestack. There were Sleestacks in it. There was a version of Dr. Shrinker.
Oh, wow.
So all these different and more. There are a whole bunch of different shows. They poured all these same characters into this one world. It kind of looked like Land of the Lost. They were using that for a backdrop, and those Lost Island segments.
Green screen.
Oh yeah. Those segments are hard to find. There's one or two segments of Lost Island that I found on YouTube, but even when most of the Krofft shows, they started streaming a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And including Krofft Super Show and the Bay City Rollers show, but the Lost Island segments are missing. Those are not part of the streaming, sad to say. So they're super cool. It's just so fun to see that mashup of so many Krofft characters.
And, in this case, Cool is spelled with a K.
It sure is, Captain Cool.
Cool.
But I think, like you said, it was like Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I believe that's the time when they brought in Mark Evanier, the comic book writer, started working for the Krofts. So it seems very comic bookish. So I suspect that was Mark Evanier's influence on the Krofts when they started doing that ultimate crossover stuff.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the writers, because we touched on it briefly, that Land of the Lost. I think of all of their shows, Land of the Lost is the most solid.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you could actually watch it, like, it would, I think, be the easiest to adapt to be a serious sci-fi show, although I don't want it to be too serious. But they had Walter Koenig wrote episodes. He created Enoch.
Yep.
Which was a tribute to Gene Roddenberry. Enoch, Gene, Flip.
What?
Yeah. And David Gerald, who wrote Trouble with Tribbles. was one of the writers on the show. I mean, they had some serious
a bunch of Star
sci-fi
Trek.
writers.
A lot of Star Trek writers worked on. Yeah, DC Fontana wrote for Land of the Lost. Larry Niven wrote for Land of the Lost. So Land of the Lost is very different from all their other shows, and because in a lot of ways, I mean, it was goofy and silly in places, but a lot of it was pretty serious, and for Saturday morning, very sophisticated science fiction.
And these guys, the outside of the dinosaurs and Enoch, well, no, Enoch's plight, Enoch's whole deal was kind of a bummer. And
it broke my heart when you discover that I love that he thinks he's gone back to when his people were primitives, and then when he finds out that no, he's gone forward and his civilization has collapsed.
Yep.
Oh man, as a kid, that tore me up.
Yeah, that is heady stuff to be presenting to little children on Saturday morning.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, thank you, Volvo Vavoom, who says, I didn't expect to learn new Trek lore on a Krofft stream.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of ours, unless it was one of the two of you, I recall saying that they met Walter Koenig at a con, and everybody was asking him about, Star Trek, which, sure. But our friend, whoever he was, went up to him and asked him about Land of the Lost. And he and Walter Koenig said, nobody ever asks me about Land of the Lost. So he loved talking about it. And so, and if I'm not mistaken, like his episode is, really, they're kind of all good.
Yeah.
There's not.
That's one of the standouts, though. That first
even
Enoch
when,
episode was great.
They very quickly disposed of their dad and got Uncle Jack onto the show. Still pretty good. Yeah,
they did a weird shift when they lost the actor. When Spencer Milligan quit the show, they had to do a very strange transition to he got to go home, but now his uncle suddenly is swept into the Land of the Lost.
Yeah, I love the idea though of
the second greatest earthquake ever known.
Yeah. And I love the idea of the dad being back home, mowing the grass, sipping on lemonade, in a hammock, going, man, what the kids are doing right now.
If I were to have money and power in Hollywood, that's kind of, I think, the tack I would go on to do a reboot of Land of the Lost is start with Dad popping back and him trying to get back to rescue his kids. I think that would be cool. So Hollywood, send me.
Yes.
You think that I'm afraid that Marshall would just be institutionalized or locked up in something. Can you imagine he's just running around ranting and raving about his kids are trapped in a world of dinosaurs and Sleestaks and
sure they are, buddy.
Sure they are.
Yeah, let's go look under the floorboards.
Well, that's
exactly.
That's why it's television and not the
somewhere.
Real world. The real world sucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, Wesley had to sing the theme song again to add the new Uncle Jack lyrics.
Yep.
Get him.
And if you get to a show where Wesley and Kathy are appearing, and they are such a delight to meet, and Wesley will sing the Land of the Lost theme song, both versions, again and again and again. As much as you want to hear it, he loves singing the theme song.
My favorite thing they did, and I think they did it both times they came to Dragon Con, is they will get masking tape and put out a boat. And draw out a boat on the floor so you can go down the rapids with them when you take your photo.
They have a real raft. They set up a real inflatable raft. And they will get in the raft with people, and that you can take these great pictures. They'll hand you oars, and they've got the Sleestak heads with them.
See, they're adding content instead of taking it away over the years.
Great.
There's more stuff to do.
Yep.
With
So Joe,
at various times, Wesley Ure, I think, he said that David Gerrold has written a sequel.
Yes.
That at some point, I would love to see.
He's been talking about a novel. I think he wants to just release it as a novel, and he's been talking.
I'll read it.
He's described it, his plot, and it sounds wonderful. I'd love to read it.
Money.
I hope it can happen. I mean, he doesn't own Land of the Lost, so he'd have to, a deal would have to be struck, and I hope that it could be someday.
Yeah. Well, there's always the internet and AO3.
Yep.
So
I saw Wesley and Kathy just a year or so ago up here in Massachusetts. We had sort of a mini Krofft reunion because we had Wesley and Kathy and Johnny Whitaker from Sigmund
Oh
and the Sea
man.
Monsters. The folks from the New Zoo Review were there, which was not a Krofft show, but again, the Krofts made those costumes as well. And also at this event in Massachusetts, Sid Krofft was there. So that this was the following year after we had Marty at Dragon Con. I got to meet Sid. He was, 94, 95 at the time. And still so funny, so sharp, top of his game. He came, I assumed someone would be, wheeling him in, and he'd kind of, he came walking in, through this giant crazy convention and was standing there meeting everybody and talking, sharp and funny as could be. I feel so lucky that I got to meet both of those guys within a year.
I love that their body of work now is more available for people to see. It's not just them, but so many people. But Sid and Marty Krofft is that small chunk of things that they did. Such a good time. And in fact, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there is just such a great vibe in all those shows. Some of them are harder to watch as an adult, I will tell you. When HR Pufnstuf came back in the 90s and I hadn't seen it since I was 5, I was very excited. I loved that show when I was 5. And then as a 20-something and going to watch it on VH1 when they brought it back and it was a huge deal. We're showing HR Pufnstuf. I sat there with my bowl of popcorn. I was ready to go, and I didn't make it past the theme song, guys. I was like, what was wrong with me?
A little of it can go a long way. You don't need to take it a lot of it in all at once. I mean, I think they made 17 episodes, one of which is a clip show because they ran out of money.
Yes. So Amy, how are you?
There's really not a lot of it. For most of their shows are just one season. Sigmund was 2 seasons. Land of the Lost was 3. Most of the rest of them, you only got 17, 18 episodes.
Which is just over 2 manimals.
That's right. That's right. We do measure things in manimals around here.
8 episodes at a time.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
I Sociopath says to us, I am currently in Peru on I cannot pronounce that, retreat. First ceremony begins tomorrow, and just happened to run into this stream. So welcome, please like, subscribe, share. We do this kind of stuff a lot.
Maybe watching Sid and Marty Krofft while you're on the ayahuasca retreat is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It might all make sense finally.
All right.
I love it.
Joe, after Land of the Lost, what is your favorite of all the Sid and Martys?
Bigfoot and Wild Boy.
Yeah.
You had a feeling that was going to be your answer.
I mean,
you do like the Bigfoot.
To Bigfoot merch. I got the Bigfoot shirt right there.
Nice.
But Bigfoot and Wild Boy's freaking great.
It's incredible. Music,
it's the like I lived next to the woods, and we would play Bigfoot and Wild Boy in the woods, and there'd be like the running, the jumping, in slow motion, of course.
Yep.
And then we would just go out in the woods and holler, "Baya!" But luckily for us, no actual Bigfoots came. Then we called.
Yeah, I was the same way, though, Joe. Like, Bigfoot and Wild Boy would actually make me want to put down my bowl of Cookie Crisp and go outside and run around. And no other shows had that effect on me. And Bigfoot and Wild Boy was a segment of the Krofft Super Show, which was like an anthology series. Then they also formatted it as its own separate show as well for a time. I thought Bigfoot looked great. The way they applied the makeup to the guy's face, that really looked terrific, considering the budgets they were dealing with. And also Bigfoot and Wild Boy. It's a Bigfoot, and then Wild Boy was just this young man that lived in the.
There was something in the 70s about these feral kids.
Oh yeah, they were everywhere.
I mean, it was always these stories. There was even a TV show. I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
Lucan.
Thank you.
Dang it.
I knew you would know.
The boy raised by wolves.
Yes.
I
It was
love
just-
How does
Lucan.
that work exactly?
There
Go
was
ahead.
just this whole fascination in the 70s with Bigfoot and Wild
Yep.
Boy, and only Sid and Marty Krofft were
Yep.
the ones smart enough to go, hey, let's put this chocolate and peanut butter together.
Yeah.
The thing
Because
about
they
Bigfoot and Wild
never
Boy.
really showed like where they go when they run away at the end of. Is there like
To the
a?
woods, Joe, to the woods.
I just assumed there was a treehouse
Yep,
because that's
yep.
where I would have wanted to live if I was a feral child.
The
which
wild
I-
thing, when you watch Bigfoot and Wild Boy, Bigfoot is the least weird thing on
Yes.
Bigfoot and Wild Boy.
It is.
That show has aliens and monsters and crazy scientific inventions, and it's wild
And
stuff.
Sorrel Book,
Yes.
Boss Hog himself, is in
Yep.
one.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, I believe Christopher Knight from Brady Bunch appears in a Bigfoot and Wild Boy episode. There's some fun guests.
They would get some wild guest stars. I mean, this is what Lidsville is what introduced me to the joy that is Charles Nelson Riley. Between that and Match Game, I discovered what an ascot was.
Oh, you learn so many terms watching Match Game.
Yeah, because it was a combination of they brought in a lot of young, unknown talent, as well as some of it was kind of stunt casting with these, older show business people, like Martha Ray as well
Yes.
on Bugaloos, of course.
I love their Martha Ray and Charles Nelson Riley were in that group of.
Wasn't? Go ahead.
Go ahead. It was like a couple of dozen people who just rotated. They're
Yep.
like, we need somebody on the Love Boat this week.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
70s TV had a rotating list of, these are TV actors, but back when TV and movie acting was two different worlds. There were very few people like Roddy McDowell who could cross back and forth. Wasn't Carol Channing in one of the shows, or am I imagining that?
She must have been.
I don't recall Carol being on a Croft show, but it's certainly possible. Then there
It
was
seems
also
like They
the
missed a good chance.
the other kind of fun stunt casting. I know Carol Channing did Muppet Show, certainly. and
That's
she was
it. That may be
she
what I'm
was
thinking
and
of.
she was on the Love Boat all the time. She was a regular guest. There was
She just
also
lived.
the two outer space shows that the Crofts did
yes.
same year, but for two different networks in the mid '70s. They did Far Out Space Nuts, and which was essentially Gilligan's Island in space with
Yep.
actual Gilligan, because
Yes.
they had Bob Denver, and then Chuck McCann was in the skipper role essentially.
Yes.
So they did Far Out Space Nuts, but the one that I like even better was Lost Saucer.
Yes.
And that was a flying saucer traveling through time, run by two androids wearing shiny, glowing android silver suits with flashing lights on them. And that was Jim Neighbors and Ruth Buzzy.
And Volva says, and Paul Lynn for the block.
Jim Neighbors,
Jim Neighbors was
from my own home state. Very proud.
Hey,
Yep, him and Ruth Buzzy, I think you said, right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I think of them, since Kevin stole my answer of Land of the Lost, if I had to pick a different one, it's probably going to be Electra Woman and Dinah Girl.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of my very favorites.
Yeah. I have one friend that Electra Woman is his favorite superhero, period. End of. Just, Superman, Batman, get those posers out of here. I want Electra Woman.
I love Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, which was also part of the Croft Super Show, as well as its own separate show. Those are so fun. Those hold up. I did a series of podcasts with our friend John Drew. We analyzed each episode of Electra Woman to death. In excruciating detail, John and I go into on every episode of Electra Woman. That was part of his Batcave podcast, because they were very Batman 66 influenced.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
But that's a wonderful show. Again, they made 8 episodes, or 16, because they were kind of split in half. And they're
That's one
just
entire manimal.
That's right.
Yes.
It's exactly one manimal. Electra Woman is one manimal long.
And I remember being terrified of Dr. Shrinker.
Yes.
Because we were shrunk. We, the victims, the viewers, we were having to run away from giant rats.
Yeah, well, and Dr. Shrinker himself just was terrifying to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And Billy Barty was
Yep.
was the sidekick, right?
Yep. Yeah. Hugo, his sidekick.
Uncool.
And I know I believe that was Billy Barty's favorite Krofft show to work on because he got to really act on that and not be stuffed inside a crazy puppet suit.
This was I don't know why. Okay, you say Dr. Shrinker, then you say Billy Barty, and all I can picture is Billy Barty just doing the mad scientist hand rub.
Yep.
It's like about to do something crazy.
Yeah, and the Krofts used Billy Barty a lot in practically all their shows. He was in he was the little firefly character in Bugaloos. He was Sigmund in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. He certainly did some Lidsville and of course Horror Hotel where they had all those monsters running around. He was great. He was just they used a lot of little people on all the Krofft shows, of course, in all those costumes. But that's the guy that could really deliver the goods out of costume. Such a super talented guy.
We could do a whole episode on Billy Barty, and maybe we should.
Sure.
But
We call it
Amy
a
tells
Billy
us,
Barty party. Why? Why did that come out of my mouth? I'm sorry.
Billy Barty party. There we go.
I apologize.
But as Amy reminds us about Dr. Shrinker, he is a madman with an evil mind.
Yep. A lot of those theme songs, like the Dr. Shrinker song, those were created by those were done by the Osmonds.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The Osmonds produced a lot of the theme music for a bunch of the Krofft shows. Well, because the Krofts, we've been talking their Saturday morning stuff, but the Krofts also produced a lot of primetime variety shows, including
I know one.
They made Donnie and Marie. Yeah, Donnie and Marie was their biggest hit, of course. But then they did the Barbara Mandrell show in the early '80s, which was a successful variety show.
Marlene.
Barbara Mandrell show was appointment viewing for my mom.
Oh yeah,
every week.
And it was like a country music variety show, but there were puppets on it as well because that was a Krofft show. They did the Brady Bunch variety show, of course, which I love with
that
Fake
was the
Jan.
One with
Fake Jan. Fake Jan. Yes.
Fake Jan.
Yes. The wonderful Jerry Reichel. And then perhaps most notoriously Pink Lady and Jeff.
Yes.
That's the one.
Which didn't even make it a full Manimal, right?
No.
Yeah, a little less than that. They did. It might have been nearly a full Manimal. It was in that neighborhood.
6 episodes.
There you go.
3/4 of a Manimal. 70.75 Manimals.
Yep. I'm obsessed with Pink Lady and Jeff.
A thing I read.
You should do a podcast series of episode by episode Pink Lady.
We could do that. That could be arranged. I just might happen to own the complete DVD set.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So Volva Vavoom, our commentator, said, y'all mentioning Billy Barty may have just moved my 6 degrees of Groucho Marx slot a lot closer. And Amy has replied with, please say more about that. So if you will type away, Volva, when you're up there, we'll put that up for us to discuss. But until then, so you have all of Pink Lady.
There is a DVD set. It's not available anymore. I can't believe they even released it. It has all the music on it. Like, I don't know how they ever got away with releasing this many years
ago. It was a mistake.
That is
another, my God, what have we done?
That is a whole other show we could do. It's the 60s and 70s variety hour.
Oh,
because
that's a massive
anybody
subject.
who got popular got a variety hour. There was a Johnny Cash. Paul Lynn had one for a few episodes.
You were
the Mandrell show. I mean, but
everybody got a variety show.
But that
you
can't get
in the 70s. You had to do a lot more work than I think celebrities have to do today.
Yes, but you can't get them or see them now because of all those music rights. Because one of the biggest things they would do is covers of popular songs. That's why it took forever to get the Muppet Show on DVD, and it still doesn't have everything.
Right. Yep. But yeah, they really had some successful and some unsuccessful forays into primetime variety, which is super. And again, Mark Evanier worked on all that stuff with them too.
And they kept at it for a very long time. And I say that because what is the name of the show? 10 years ago on Nickelodeon Junior, they had a new kids show.
Yeah.
Right.
Sid Marty Krofft. It was called Mutt and Stuff.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it was Stuff was the the stuff of Mutt and Stuff, and he is the nephew of H.R. Pufnstuf,
Oh.
who guest stars on an episode.
They never stopped wheeling and dealing and pitching and trying to sell shows and movies and live shows and everything. I mean, the 70s and 80s were their heyday, of course, but those guys never stopped working. You know, into their 70s, their 80s, their 90s.
I love
In
that.
Sid's case, they never stopped.
Nope. You got to keep bringing in that money, man.
Yep.
And
yep.
you gotta, if you're feeling it, do it.
Yeah. I think the one that surprises me the most, though, is DC Follies.
Right.
If you're
right.
going to tell me that we're going to get a political satire show, I would not have picked from Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yeah, with Fred Willard.
Yes.
And a bunch of puppets. Sort of similar to like the Splitting Image. That was the British version,
Yes.
right? And that's
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
like the puppets in the Genesis Land of Confusion video.
Yes.
That was Splitting Image from England, I believe. But then, yeah, in America, we had DC Follies with Krofft puppets. The other show from the 80s, which sadly is not streaming like most of their other Saturday morning stuff is, but in the mid-80s, they also did Pryor's Place.
Oh, yeah.
They put Richard Pryor on Saturday morning TV for the kids.
Yep.
And that show was sort of a Sesame Street format. It looked very much like Sesame Street, just out on a street like that. And it was Richard Pryor and a whole bunch of big celebrity guest stars because everybody wanted to work with Pryor.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
fairly successful. It went, what, 2-3 seasons? I forget.
I think just one. One. It could have gone longer, but I think Richard Pryor just lost interest and didn't want to do anymore. So yeah, just one season. It's Ray Parker Jr. right at his Ghostbusters peak. Did
Just
the theme song?
The very notion that one of the filthiest comedians in all of history and funniest.
Yep.
And a lot of people, their first experience with him was, oh, that fun guy from Saturday morning. Let's watch his stand-up special, kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, could you imagine someone who's only watched, like, Pryor's Place?
Yeah. If
And
you're
then
just the right
they
age,
get-
it's like, oh, there's Mr. Rogers, there's Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
My
and then
two
they go
heartwarming
watch
television
Rent
friends.
live on the Sunset Strip. Why is he talking about being set on fire?
When you're on fire and running down the street, people will get out of your way. Classic advice from
Yes.
Richard Pryor. Oh my gosh.
I think we should touch on the theme park before we run
Oh,
out
yes.
of time because I am fascinated by the world of Sid and Marty Krofft theme park, which existed in, I believe, 1976 for just a few months in Atlanta, Georgia, just mere blocks from where we meet at Dragon Con every year.
Yep.
And it was a giant, ambitious indoor theme park, all built around all the Sid and Marty Krofft shows
true.
that had been done. There's very little surviving evidence of it. Like you really have
wish
to
there
hunt
was like
around
a-
for.
I wish I wish there was still something so we could do a pilgrimage.
Yeah. Oh
Well,
yeah.
The
There's
building it was in is now the Omni Center, which is CNN's headquarters. So.
right. Yeah. Or former headquarters. I don't think
Oh,
CNN's
that's
even
right.
there
They
anymore.
moved, didn't they?
Yeah, so the only trace that it was even there was that the big, there's like a giant escalator that was built. The giant, like kind of freestanding escalator was built for the theme park, and that I believe is still there. There's no other sign that it was ever a Krofft theme park.
They've
There's
salted the earth.
Yeah, it was a financial disaster for many reasons, but there's very little video that survives of the park being there. If you watch the first season of the Krofft Super Show with Captain Cool and the Kongs, they shot the Captain Cool and the Kong framing sequences at the theme park because that was the year that the park was open. So the opening sequence, they're all marching through downtown Atlanta on their way to the park. And throughout the show, anytime you see the band, they're inside the park. But even that, in that show, you don't get a lot of close looks at the actual stuff in the park.
Yes, it is a lot.
It was kind of a waste. Like they didn't pull back the camera and really let you see much of the park that they were shooting in. But there was like the crystal carousel with all these kind of crystal animals you could ride. There was a pinball machine ride, like you'd get inside a giant pinball, which is not as exciting as it sounds. It was actually a very slow moving ride where you just kind of ride along on a track and look at things. It wasn't like you're not careening around it.
seems like something from Running Man.
Yeah. I think one of the things that hurt the park was that it didn't contain any thrill rides. The rides were all very slow.
Well, it was
rides.
indoors.
Yeah, it was indoors, and it was a lot of like live puppet theater and jugglers and live performances happening, and a few kind of slow moving rides, which I think hurt it financially.
Imagine if you go to Disneyland and there's a roof and every ride is It's a Small World.
Yes, that's essentially what. Yep, that's kind of what it was like. I wish I would have been able to go. There are people I know that when we're in that classics track room at DragonCon and start talking about Krofft, I've asked for a show of hands a few times, and hands will go up. There are people that are still around that remember going to the Krofft theme park when they were kids.
Luckily, not like Lidsville at all.
Yes.
To the best of our knowledge.
Yep.
Okay,
but don't ever fall into a giant hat.
No. Yeah. If you ever see a magic show and you're trying to figure out how it was done, don't sneak backstage.
Yep.
And if the magician's hat suddenly grows 20 times its size, don't climb into it.
Eddie Munster fell in the hat.
Yeah.
These are lessons we all learned. Because in the years since we saw those shows back in the 70s, we've all been around giant hats.
Oh, yeah.
Did any of you guys jump in?
No, you got to stand back and be safe.
Got to stand back, man.
Okay, so kind of touching on that. So, Kevin, for you, what's the weirdest show?
Oh, man. I guess you got to go Lidsville. I mean... which was
so if anybody who doesn't know, because we really haven't talked about the show's too much detail except for Land of the Lost, what the F is Lidsville?
Here's the thing. Do this. Google everything you have heard us talk about tonight, and you will be amazed. But Kevin, go ahead.
Because Lidsville is the one that, like, so many of their shows have a wild premise and they sound crazy, and they are, and you could. But if you explained Land of the Lost to someone, they'd say, "Wow, that sounds wild. That's what a show. That's bizarre." And yeah, it is. When you describe Lidsville to someone, you get the reaction of, "What?"
Yeah.
Like people don't even believe. They don't even believe what you're trying to tell them. And that's
that's where the "what do you mean it wasn't made on drugs" comments come in.
It was a kid, like a teenage kid, who was Butch Patrick, who was a few years removed from he was Eddie Munster on the Munsters in the 60s, and now so it's Butch Patrick, but now he's in like early 70s teen idol mode with the long hippie hair, and goes to see a magic show, sneaks backstage, falls into a giant magic top hat, and he goes tumbling into some kind of freaky alternate reality world called Lidsville, and practically everyone in Lidsville is a hat. It's a world of living hats. So like there's a motorcycle helmet, and it's just a giant motorcycle helmet that rides around on a motorcycle. You know, the fire department is a giant fireman's hat riding a truck, and just every kind of hat you can think of. That's the character is a hat.
Yep, there's a pith helmet explorer.
Yes.
And what's also weird is, you know, so we've got Marvel the magician is the main bad guy. You know, Charles Nelson Riley.
Hoodoo.
Paint.
Yeah, his name was Hoodoo.
And his associates aren't hats.
Right.
He has a giant talking playing card and a giant rabbit.
Yes. Yeah, kind of
That's
magician
worse.
themed. It's astonishing. And Lidsville is the show where like they hired every little person in Hollywood was on deck to slip into a hat suit because they had to fill out a whole world of living hats.
Yes. I'd say the runner-up for me is Bugaloos,
Yeah.
which
And
is the other one that's the most, what do you mean it's not on drugs? Because it's a bunch of bug people just having adventures around giant flowers and...
Yeah, this
One
was
of our favorite fictional bands, of course, the
Yes.
Bugaloos.
Bugaloos. Yeah, they wanted kind of, Beatles, British Invasion inspired. They were insect people, but they were also a British rock band.
They're British insects.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And I mean, last year at DragonCon, I met a young woman who was dressed as a Bugaloo.
Oh.
She had a magnificent Bugaloo costume, and I was freaking out. She was wonderful.
Never
But
seen any
yeah.
of the good costumes.
that was a great one.
boy.
But yeah, this,
And it's a catchy theme song, the Bugaloos.
Yes.
they had good songs. They put out an album. There was an
Mm-hmm.
actual Bugaloos album.
What about you,
There
Joe?
was
What's
a
the...
Saturday Morning's Greatest Hits
Yes, I love
compilation
that
in
album.
the 90s.
Yep.
Where and some an alternative band from the time period from that
Yeah.
time covered the Bugaloos. It's freaking great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was a great
that
record.
album's amazing.
Yep. Great record.
Yeah, it's like the Pixies of Veruca Salt, I think, is on there. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's a who's who of 90s
Yeah.
alternative.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got Tanya Donnelly and Juliana Hatfield singing Josie and the
Yes.
Pussycats.
Now, why didn't they get Juliana Hatfield to do a Lidsville theme
To
song?
Lidsville, yes.
That would have been volume 2 of these albums.
That will be
Sadly,
volume
never
two.
got
It was
We're gonna
right
make this
there.
happen.
They needed you producing that record, Joe. How did they miss
I'm
that?
going to call Juliana Hatfield tonight on her hat phone.
I could probably get to her house within the half hour. She does not live.
Sweet.
I don't believe she's far away from me right now.
I love it. Just 10:30 at night. Boom, 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 boom. Yes, Kevin. No, I will not do.
Yeah. Oh, Sublime did Hong Kong Phooey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, but
But I think overall, though, what we're saying is, if you haven't, do it. The freaking Sid and Marty Krofft stuff is of its time and also immortal too.
oh, yeah.
The whole thing, anything they do just has that. Well, obviously for us, those of our ilk, there's nostalgia to it, like there is on everything on the American Sci-Fi Classics track, but also it's just a time capsule. You look back at this weird time when creative people had $11 and were able to make a television show.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and the creativity, and you watch it, and you can see they had like $24 and a ham sandwich for
Yeah.
their budget, but they put every penny of it up there, and they did everything they could to make this stuff work.
Oh yeah. And I mean the Krofft brothers, Marty was the businessman. He would make the deal with the network and sell the show and figure out the money. Sid was the dreamer. He was the
Yes.
creative guy. They were both very creative, but Sid was the one that would have these wild notions of. Marty would have to talk him down. Like Sid,
Yes.
that would whatever Sid's initial idea was would cost $4 billion, and Marty would have to trim it down.
That would cost
like-
$40.
It's like, we're
Yep.
working with some felt ping pong balls and a green screen here.
Yep.
And there are ones we haven't even we've barely grazed on. Like we barely mentioned in passing one of my other favorites, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. It paired up perfectly with my other obsession at that age of Casper, of the, oh, you're supposed to be mean and evil, and no, I just want to hang out.
Yep.
I feel like they did a newer Sigmund and the Sea Monsters in recent years.
Yes.
Okay. Serious
Yeah, they
Quest.
did.
Here we go.
Yeah, there was a more recent version of Sigmund.
We don't often get serious questions here.
All right,
on the
Joe,
American
read it
Sci-Fi
out.
Classics Track.
Read it out, Joe. Aloud.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Use your
I'm
outside
Gen
voice.
Y. I'm Gen Y and somehow watched a Krofft show at the most easily terrified age of infancy. Correct. I'm still scared of them. Any recommendations for which show isn't as Uncanny Valley? Not Lidsville. Don't watch. Sigmund's good. Most of the shows are just puppets.
Yes.
Well, all of them are guys in suits. I would say Land of the Lost is the least, because all the dinosaurs are stop motion
or animation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a combination of puppets and stop motion for the dinosaurs.
So yeah, it's mostly just and not many dudes in suits either. Most of
the Slee Stacks.
The Slee Stacks,
which were terrifying as a child.
They're so scary, so super scary.
Maybe
those big giant black eyes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and Brian Crossan, isn't it, Joe, that did that lovely drawing of you as our
friend Brian Crossan, who did a picture of me as
Chaka.
Bigfoot. No, I was Chaka. You were,
and I was a sea stack.
Yes.
With a goatee.
Yes, accurate, incredibly accurate.
I've got this book. I think this came out in the 90s. This book, Pufnstuf and other stuff, and this was kind of 90s, like kind of pre-internet. This was just such a treasure to get information out of. There's actually like a 2-page spread in this book. It's a Pakuni English translation guide.
Ooh.
Because they created an actual language for Chaka and his Pakuni, and yeah, they actually have the language in this book.
Oh, that's
so
everybody actually find that book, and whoever wrote it is going to be like, I sold 3 copies all of a sudden. What happened?
You could study the Pakuni language with this book.
Very important.
Yep, but Land of the Lost, Electra Woman, and Dinah Girl is not scary at all. It's superhero stuff.
Electra Woman and Dinah Girl is Batman.
Yes. Yeah, it's very silly supervillains. It's great.
Pink Lady and Jeff, I don't.
That's scary on a metaphysical level.
A whole other thing, yeah. But worth.
All right, we have set off the Slee Stack alarm.
Yes.
I'll mute myself until that's turned off.
Wow. Okay.
Kevin, thank you again for hanging out with us, as always.
It is always an honor and a pleasure to come here and discuss living hats anytime.
Let's just do what I want you to do is on the Flopcast one episode, just say, well, here's a list of things we're about to talk about, and then talk about none of it, and it's just Lidsville.
Just living hats from now on. Yeah, we can do that. We can make that happen. Oh, yeah.
Nice. So people can find you, Kevin, at the Flopcast.
Yeah, that's my goofy little podcast. Every single week we do another. I think episode 729 just came out, and it's been every week, which means we've been doing the show for 729 weeks and counting. And it's just a silly, nerdy show. And we're part of the ESO network. We're at flopcast.net, and if you like silly stuff like the Crofts, you'll probably enjoy hanging out with us at the Flopcast.
Yes. And for Joe and myself, you will find us here or at DragonCon on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and come back for us in 2 weeks when we will be discussing Supergirl.
Oh.
Yes.
She may have a movie coming out.
I understand there's a movie. I understand she was in some other movie last year at the very end. Absolutely great. And obviously we'll get into this next week, but I just read the graphic novel that the movie's going to be based on, and it's great.
Yeah, I've got the book. I have not read it yet, but I love Supergirl.
Yes. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, Kevin.
If you need me, I'm happy to be here to talk Supergirl.
2 weeks.
Well, we definitely need. You defended Supergirl.
I defended the 1984 Helen Slater Supergirl movie. Yes, I defended at DragonCon in American Sci-Fi Classics Court. Yes.
Well worth a watch again. But yeah, can't wait to do that. And Gary, again, why? Here's why we do this. Because all this stuff is so freaking great and
Yes.
awesome. And I'm tickled to death that we get to, I absolutely love when people either tell us later or tell us live like they've done here tonight. I've never heard of this stuff before, or I didn't know that. And that's what we're doing. We're sharing the love.
Yes.
We are.
Let us introduce you to a whole
Yes.
new world of felt and unintentionally scary creatures.
We're
Bring
nerdy
Bigfoot and Wild Boy.
evangelists.
Got to bring Bigfoot and Wild Boy to the people.
That's right.
Thank you.
For the people.
In slow motion, jumping.
Well, because as we learned in the 70s, that's how you show strong and fast is in slow motion.
Slow motion.
I remember being 8 years old and running in very slow motion because I was the Bionic Man.
Of course.
There was one guy in my elementary school who committed. None of us ever did. We'd get maybe halfway out there and be like, and then just resume normal human speed. But there was this one kid who would always, he committed to the bit. And he's like, I'm going to go slow-mo.
Yep. He's still there. He's still running.
He's still
running.
They were having the 30-year reunion. He's like, I'm almost at the slide.
So thank you, everybody, for joining and watching along. We thank you very much for your comments and getting involved and watching our goofy faces talk about goofy stuff. Join us in 2 weeks when we hear Joe Crowe say,
"Oh, Lord, something happened to Krypton?"
"Oh, no." Bye.